Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake Silva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
Night it up, Night fans. What's going on? It's your boy Jake the Snake Silva here from the hit show, the Snake Sports Talk Show on the Spotlight Sports Network, coming at you with the first official uploading video of the 2020-2021 NHL season featuring your Vegas Golden Knights. I will be covering all sorts of Golden Knights content as far as news, highlights, analysis, and so much more on everything you need to get geared up for your Vegas Golden Knights. If it's your first time here, I appreciate it. And I would also encourage you guys to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications on everything Vegas Golden Knights to get you guys up to speed. So, welcome everybody to this edition of the first ever video content of the new season for the Vegas Golden Knights. What a season it was last season, even being cut short in the Western Conference Final against the Dallas Stars, which was only close to one more step to getting back into the Stanley Cup Final. It was unfortunate for the Vegas Golden Knights last season, even after having to deal with a bunch of obstacles and a different change of coaching, and then not to mention ended up bringing in new players, new juice, new blood into the organization. But this time, this year, things are bound to get serious. And I am so excited to be breaking it down with all of you guys. So, of course, as we are getting ready for the inaugural season of the 2020-2021 season, the Vegas Golden Knights have an awful lot of expectations this year. And the biggest ones of them all has been what's been happening through last season, where the coaching change immediately happened, where Gerard Gallant was stepped down from his position as head coach, and in comes former San Jose Sharks coach Pete DeBoer. Now, DeBoer, of course, ended up changing a lot of the play style for the Golden Knights, and things started to kind of click in the right direction. Then they started to kind of get a little bit more in depth. And that was when the trade deadline ended up happening in the middle of the season. And the biggest acquisitions that the Golden Knights ended up getting was Alec Martinez, Nick Cousins, and then the big fish, Robin Lehner, the goaltender from Chicago. It was one of those big time moves where the Golden Knights were set to where they were going to end up making a deeper run into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Well, of course, that was, in fact, the case. Everybody started to click on offense. Defense started to play a lot better with as far as protecting the puck at all costs, defending the net, and also being supporters to their goaltender. And that was one of the biggest things that the Golden Knights had issues with as far as puck defense, and then not to mention passing. Passing was one of the biggest struggles that Vegas had to go through. And now we're up to this point, up to par, up to speed, where it's a brand new season. And a lot of expectations are on the line. Now, of course, the big one is the big expectation that is coming into the newest Golden Knight, who signed a 7-year pact with Vegas, and that is former St. Louis Blues captain Alex Pietrangelo. What a big signing it was during the offseason for Vegas as they acquire their big-time defenseman from free agency and what he brings to the table. Now, of course, Vegas does have two former captains, Max Pacioretty, who was a captain of Montreal, and now Alex Pietrangelo, who was captain of the St. Louis Blues. So these were big-time acquisitions for sure. But Pietrangelo and what he brings to the table and what I think gives Vegas a brand new look and a new identity is the fact that he brings a lot of leadership, a guy who won the Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues for their first time in 52 years of their franchise. St. Louis had a hell of a team as far as defensively, offensively, puck generating, and then not to mention unbelievable goaltending skills by Jordan Binnington. Alex Pietrangelo, in years as being a captain of the St. Louis Blues, lots and lots of leadership and experience. The fact that the Golden Knights, it's their 4th season coming up since this team has been established in 2017, only making it to the Stanley Cup final once and losing to the Washington Capitals. Pietrangelo looks to bring a juice that could hopefully boost this organization and this team to bouncing them back into the Stanley Cup final and hopefully bringing a first ever championship to the franchise and to the city of Las Vegas. Pietrangelo, of course, the other thing that he also possesses that I think are big time tangibles is, one, he brings a lot of really good experiencing defense. The other part is he's a really good puck generating defender. As what the Golden Knights had struggled with in the last couple of years, they could not generate their offense due to poor puck passing skills. And that's one of the things that they have lacked on their side. And in order to really get guys like Pacioretty, like Stone, like Marchessault, and many others on the first 2 lines of their offense, that is where the puck generating skills needed to be addressed, because they could not find an answer to get the puck past neutral ice and get it on to the offensive zone. So Pietrangelo hopes to bring that to the table as a huge acquisition for Vegas, and of course also bring big-time defense that would help with guys like Shea Theodore, Alec Martinez, and so many others on the defensive ends. Now, of course, there were a lot of changes that happened with Vegas. Of course, they ended up losing Paul Stastny to Winnipeg as they ended up trading him back there. Stastny, who had ended up playing with Winnipeg in the middle of the season in 2017, is now back with the Jets again. And then, of course, there were rumored talks about potentially bringing back Erik Haula, but that didn't end up happening as Haula ended up taking a deal to Nashville. The Golden Knights do have an awful lot of really good offense with guys like Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Riley Smith. The biggest thing that the Golden Knights have got to get under control is the fact that their puck generating skills needs to improve. Last year, and how they were able to set up offense was probably one of the biggest key struggles that the Golden Knights had as far as getting the offense generated, and then not to mention scoring goals. The one thing that drove me nuts the most was when it came to offense. If you've got an opportunity to sling the puck in the back of the net, grip it and rip it. Don't just try for all of these, don't just try for something fancy or any kind of like special deke. I don't care for those. In order to for the money that you get paid as a forward, your job is to not only just to score the goals, but you have to be aggressive on offense. And that is scoring in any type of position possible. The Golden Knights have that. They have the guys, and they are on big buck contracts, and this is what they get paid to do. And this is where they have to end up making that happen and putting that into action. Now, of course, last year was a big time deal where they needed to end up helping out their young core. And guys like Cody Glass, Nick Hague, Dylan Coghlan. Eventually, we'll start to see goaltender Dylan Ferguson at some point, but he's also another guy that's going to be an up-and-coming future for the Golden Knights to come. And there's so much more that the Golden Knights do have to experiment and to hopefully get them up into the NHL level. It was unfortunate for Cody Glass. There was a lot of hope and a lot of bright future for him ahead. Now, of course, he was banged up all left and right and ended up ending his season with an injury. And this year hopes to be a bounce back season for him as he gets ready to be one of the bounce back forwards who comes in this year, hoping to get at least some shifts, get some time on the ice, and maybe at some point help the Golden Knights to generate offense. And it's one of the things that I love about watching Cody Glass and watching the type of presence he brings to the offense, the speed, the puck, the puck skills, so much more. The other thing is Nick Hague. I love this kid, and I do think he has quite a bright future on defense. But he's got to be able to generate offense much quicker than we thought, because there were times where he would have open ends on the far side of the ice, and nothing would pan out. Nothing would end up hitting the back of the net. And Nick Hague, of course, having Pietrangelo there helps to kind of build guys like Nick Hague. And I think he's going to end up getting a lot of experience. He's going to get a lot of learning from him. And I think that's also what's going to help him to shape to be a promising defender for the future. So Nick Hague, of course, this is going to be a bounce back year for him as well. And hopefully we'll be able to see at least a little bit more of action on Dylan Coughlin's end, because in the AHL last season, this was a guy that had the recording shot. And he's a guy that I think when you look at it, I don't know if he'll be a future Alex Ovechkin or somebody that could be interesting to see in the league. But Dylan Coughlin, I think, has some very promising stuff. And I think also does add a little bit more extra juice to the offense. So there's a lot to really experiment for the Vegas Golden Knights. But this year is definitely the year where things have to get serious. Last season for the Golden Knights, they were able to turn things around. Even with the obstacles they had to go through with their offense not generating a whole lot of goals, there wasn't a lot of aggression that was there. There wasn't a lot of just that up hype. And that's where it took a toll, where they needed to change coaches. And that's where out goes Gerard Gallant, in comes Pete DeBoer. Things started to kind of change up. Then the trading deadline that really helped to boost to get this team going. Now, I have a feeling, and I am a firm believer that I do believe that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be the team that's going to make an awful lot of noise. Now, before we end up getting into any more of it, there is a huge, huge change into the hockey world this year, because instead of it being the normal divisions that we've had for a long time, the Pacific, the Metropolitan, the Central, and of course the Atlantic Division, that now is actually going to be changed specifically for this year. And because of how last year ended up panning out with the pandemic outbreak, and not to mention finishing the season in Canada, the NHL, I give kudos to them. I thought they did a superb job in the bubble with, as far as, being on top of health and safety, and of course, keeping the players accountable. I thought it worked out very, very well in finishing up what seemed like it was going smoothly all last season until the pandemic hit. And they finished it off very strong, where we got a Stanley Cup champion in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now we're on to some serious business. So this year, they're going to feature the West, the East, the Central, and then the Canadian Division. Now, it's very interesting how everything has been built up to this point. But the Golden Knights do have some serious competition. Now, there are two teams involved that I do think are going to give the Golden Knights a hard time in the Western Division. Now, of course, this is a team that last year ended up winning the Pacific Division due to the stoppage of play due to the pandemic. But in this new and improved West Division, this is now going to feature the Colorado Avalanche, and it's also going to end up featuring the St. Louis Blues. Now, of course, there are at least a bunch of teams that were in the West, like the Anaheim Ducks, the San Jose Sharks, the LA Kings, and so much more that were in the Pacific Division. Now, that's not going to end up changing. But I do think the two teams that are going to be serious competition is the Blues and the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche, of course, with their unbelievable first line of Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, and Mikko Rantanen, and they ended up acquiring some big-time defense like Devin Taves. I think that's going to be a lot of competition on that end, but I do think it's going to be very exciting for the Golden Knights during the season. And, of course, you got the St. Louis Blues, who signed a massive contract with Torrey Krug, the former Boston Bruin, comes in along with guys like Justin Folk and so many others. St. Louis is hoping to bounce themselves back to where they regroup and they be the type of team like they were in the 2018-2019 season and winning the Stanley Cup. Now, of course, that is going to be very challenging. And now with having these three teams in the middle of that mix in the division, I think it's going to be a lot of fun and there's going to be a lot of competition. Now, Vegas up to this point, there were a bunch of news. Now, the Knights ended up releasing a statement that they have put 10 players on waivers. And one of those players who I thought improved in a big way defensively was defenseman Nick Holden. Nick Holden last year in the 1920 season ended up finishing up the year at 61 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points, and a plus-minus of -1. I thought, to me personally, when the trade deadline ended up coming up and they started to get the important pieces around them for defense, including Alec Martinez, Nick Holden stepped up in a big way where he was a shutdown type of defender. I felt like, the puck passing was kind of so-and-so with him. But this is a guy that I was very surprised he was even put into the waivers, given the fact that he was given a 2-year extension. Now you have this statement where he's put on waivers. It's very interesting how the Golden Knights are going about this because of the fact of, you think about the salary cap, you think about how the league itself has rippled because of last year's finish due to the pandemic. Now they are fighting for the chance to start the season up. Now, there are at least some changes with as far as now sponsorships are going to be involved to help to make up for the loss of millions that the NHL and the league has lost last season. But each and every team in this league, they're all feeling the ripple effect, not to mention, too, the start to a brand new franchise, the Seattle Kraken. Now, that's going to be interesting to see them come along, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see them come into the league, a brand new expansion team, but we'll see how the league really pans this out through this season. There were a lot of different questions, lots of different concerns, whether or not if this season is actually going to go as promised. And Gary Bettman, of course, did say that, yes, this is going to end up making up for the millions of dollars that we've lost in last season. But however, for the sake of the league and for the sake of the players and most of all the sake of the fans, this is where we begin to start the season. And the season starts for the Golden Knights on the 14th of this month. And they start the season out against the Anaheim Ducks. Now, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this league really pans itself out. But I think each and every single team and the players as well are very excited to get geared up and to be back on the ice. And what's even better, Knights fans, is that finally the Golden Knights are going to be returning back to T-Mobile Arena. And I think it's for the best. It's honestly the best time to be a Golden Knight fan. No more crickets in the arena no more. We finally get to be able to see the boys back in T-Mobile Arena and back on the ice. I think it's exciting stuff. And taking on against the Anaheim Ducks, where the Golden Knights have had a fairly good record against Anaheim since being a team in 2017. And the Ducks, they ended up making some interesting changes themselves, but I think they're kind of in the middle of being a rebuilding type of team, much like with the Kings and much like with the Sharks. So it's going to be interesting. All from the 14th and the 16th is where they'll play Anaheim and then move on and playing Arizona. So the whole deal for the league is each and every single one of these divisions are going to be played closely to each other. So the West Conference or the West Division is going to be all in the Western region, the Central, of course, right smack dab in the middle, and then you have the East Coast teams. So I think this is smart. It helps to limit travel. It helps to stopping the spread of the virus. And of course, it helps the safety of all the players and coaches. So I think this is going to be a very interesting season indeed. But the Golden Knights, the one goal that they are trying to achieve for this year is obviously to try to strive to win the division. May not be easy, but there's a lot of expectations from there. That's one. Two, punch their ticket back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. This team has made it to the Stanley Cup playoffs in 3 consecutive years, whether they were a division champions or they were just a wild card team making their way in. But that'll be the 3rd straight that they've made it into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now they're hoping for quest for straight number 4. And this team, since being an expanded franchise, has probably been one of the greatest expanded franchise that we've ever seen in all of sports. So the Golden Knights have that expectation of number 2, and then hopefully they can achieve expectation number 3. And that's to getting into the Stanley Cup final and maybe potentially being threats in the Stanley Cup final. So there is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of big time expectations. But with the acquisitions and with the changes that they have, and of course, still grouping with the same similar offense and defense, and not to mention too with the acquisitions of the goaltending with Robin Lehner over the last season, this is going to be a team that's going to make an awful lot of noise in the hockey world. And this is where it's going to be a big-time season for them. Expect Robin Lehner, since signing the 5-year extension deal, he's going to be the main guy. But Marc-Andre Fleury, we can't ever brush that away. Fleury, we know, he's been great through the process. We know last season was an absolute heartbreaker for him. It was hardships, but he was able to overcome those adversities. Now we're hoping that he'll be able to stay stable, not to mention get some game play in and get some quality starts. But in the end, this offense has to generate and they have to get going. So we're hoping for guys like Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone, Riley Smith, William Karlsson, Jonathan Marchessault, not to mention Alex Tuck, who spent at least about a quarter of the season hurt. But this is where everybody has to be clicking on all cylinders. And not to mention the defense has to be stellar with as far as puck stoppage, defense, and also puck generating skills. Because again, we have got to be able to get the puck past neutral ice. It drives me nuts every time when I see it, where they come up so short on neutral ice and they can't even get it past it to go onto the offense. That is what's going to be the biggest changes. But I'm very excited for this season to come up, guys. It's a brand new, fresh start. It's a fresh new season. Of course, different changes in the division, different changes now. But I'm very excited, and I think the expectations are high, but it's not to say it's not possible. I think the Knights are very much ready for more challenges. They're very ready for the high expectation, and I think they're going to exceed those expectations as well. There's a lot of confidence in this team, and I'm a firm believer. I think they'll be ready to get the job done. But also, guys, another big news is that we will have the outdoor games at Lake Tahoe in Reno. I think this is going to be very interesting indeed, because the Vegas Golden Knights, what this is kind of priming up for, if things come out successful in Lake Tahoe, I think somewhere down the road, we may potentially see the Vegas Golden Knights be awarded a Winter Classic. And we love Winter Classics, to be honest. It's a tradition where a lot of diehard hockey fans, they love to be outdoors. They go to either sports stadiums or they go to a lot of certain places, and they go and they enjoy a hockey game outdoors. If this pans well, I think the Vegas Golden Knights would be awarded eligibility for a potential Winter Classic in the near future. But we've got exhibition games, and that is where the Colorado Avalanche will be the team that's going to end up playing up there, along with the Vegas Golden Knights and a couple of other teams as well. So I think this is going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be something brand new. but this season has a lot to offer. And so from myself, guys, this is Jake the Snake signing off. Appreciate all of you guys checking out this video, and definitely like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest news on everything Vegas Golden Knights to get you guys up to date throughout this entire NHL season. Hope to see you guys soon, and hope that the season goes well. Definitely stay tuned, and always remember to night up.